Admit it. The Strange Tale of Depsey the Rabbit. Chapter 40. Strange Choices. The Strange Zone buzzed with the kind of purposeful energy that comes from community work days. What had once been a cosmic dumping ground for discarded cartoon characters now resembled a construction site where the impossible was being made routine through cartoon logic and stubborn determination. At the largest dimensional tear, a jagged wound in reality that leaked upward falling snow and the sound of alien wind chimes, three unlikely figures wrestled with what could only be described as the world's most oversized cork. "Steady now, Joko," Depsey called, his yellow shoes finding purchase on a makeshift platform built from discarded set pieces. "Mr. Muffins, can you adjust that pulley?" The cork in question was magnificent in its cartoon excess, easily 12 feet tall, perfectly tapered, with a cheerful grain pattern that somehow suggested both reliability and whimsy. It hung suspended from an elaborate rope and pulley system that would have made Rube Goldberg weep with joy. "In vaudeville, we always said the biggest problems need the biggest solutions," Joko declared, his raccoon mask gleaming as he checked the alignment for the 100th time. Despite being the original innocent victim in a chain of corruption that had lasted decades, he approached the work with the same theatrical enthusiasm he'd once brought to his performances. Mr. Muffins fine-tuned the positioning with surgical precision, his cat features focused with the intensity of someone who understood the stakes. "I helped design the cartoon atomic bomb," he said, making microscopic adjustments to the rigging. "This cork should hold dimensional pressure just fine. The real question is whether we can get the angle right." The moral complexity of their cooperation wasn't lost on any of them. Joko, the innocent performer pushed into the rift by Mr. Muffins. Mr. Muffins, corrupted by cosmic influence into committing that original murder, then eliminated by Depsey. Depsey, who had spent 20 years systematically murdering cartoon characters on orders from entities that fed on guilt and corruption. And yet here they were, working together to heal the wounds their various tragedies had helped create. "You know," Depsey said, testing the rope tension with practiced care, 20 years ago I would have been figuring out how to push both of you through this tear. Now I'm trying to plug it shut." He paused, his buck teeth catching the strange light that filtered through dimensional instability. "Funny how things change when you stop protecting your fear and start protecting your friends." "The voice is gone," Mr. Muffins said quietly, referring to the cosmic influence that had driven him to murder. "For the first time in decades, my thoughts are my own. I know what corruption sounds like when it starts whispering. That's why I'm staying here, to help others spot it before it takes hold." Joko nodded approvingly. "Plus, somebody's got to make sure these repairs hold. Can't have interdimensional weather ruining everyone's picnics." They coordinated the final positioning with the practiced ease of performers who understood timing. "On 3, Depsey called. 1, 2, 3. The massive cork descended into the dimensional tear with perfect cartoon physics. For a moment it seemed too large. Then reality adjusted with a satisfying squee pop that echoed across the strange zone. The upward falling snow stopped. The alien wind chimes fell silent. The tear sealed completely, leaving only a cheerful cork top that somehow made the entire landscape look more intentionally furnished rather than accidentally wounded. "Well, that's tear number 17 plugged," Mr. Muffins said with satisfaction, making a note in a ledger that had appeared from nowhere. "Only 43 more to go." As they celebrated their success with the kind of backslapping that cartoon characters do best, two new figures approached across the strange landscape. Professor Gosling picked his way carefully through the reality-warped terrain, his academic attire looking perfectly normal despite the impossible physics surrounding him. Beside him, Dr. Moose strode with the confidence of someone who had made peace with living in a place where the laws of science were more like friendly suggestions. "Excellent work on the large-scale repairs," Dr. Moose called, his antlers draped with what appeared to be oversized cartoon band-aids and safety pins. "Professor Gosling here wanted to see our approach to the smaller dimensional fractures." Professor Gosling stared in academic amazement at Dr. Moose's equipment. "You're using giant band-aids to patch space-time?" "Reality patches," Dr. Moose corrected with scientific pride. "Turns out cartoon physics work better on cartoon problems than real physics ever did. Watch this." He approached a hairline crack in the air itself, barely visible except for the way it made vision blur slightly at its edges, and carefully applied what could only be described as a band-aid the size of a dinner plate. The crack sealed immediately, the air solidifying with a gentle boop sound. "The adhesive is dimensional grade," Dr. Moose explained, securing the patch with a safety pin that gleamed with its own inner light. "And yes, before you ask, it really is that simple. Sometimes the cartoon way is the right way." Professor Gosling shook his head in wonder. "The university would love to have you back. Full tenure, your own lab, unlimited research budget." "This is my lab," Dr. Moose replied, gesturing to the impossible landscape around them. "Where else can I study the intersection of emotional physics and dimensional stability?" "I'm not hiding here, Professor. I'm pioneering here." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of two more figures, making their way across the healing landscape. Detective Bones moved with the methodical pace of someone who had found purpose after decades of bureaucratic failure, his skeletal frame carrying a toolkit that seemed to contain mostly cheerful warning signs. Pearl rolled beside him with the efficiency of a telephone operator who had decided to apply her organizational skills to cosmic aftermath management. "How many corks do we have left in inventory?" Pearl asked, consulting a clipboard that somehow stayed perfectly organized despite the interdimensional weather. 14 large, 27 medium, and more small ones than I can count," Detective Bones replied, posting a sign that read, "Caution, interdimensional breach. Have a nice day," next to a patch that was still settling. "Though I still think some of these people should consider moving back to the regular cartoon world. It's safer." "They're not missing any more, Detective," Pearl reminded him with the patience of someone who had made this point several times. "They're choosing. There's a difference between rescue and respect." Detective Bones paused in his signposting, his expression troubled. "I've cleared 47 cases so far. 47 families who finally know what happened to their missing loved ones. But most of those families want their relatives to come home, and most of those relatives want to stay here." He gestured to the community of survivors who had turned cosmic horror aftermath into something resembling a functioning society. "How do I balance that?" "By letting people choose healing on their own terms," Pearl said gently. "Some heal by returning to normal. Others heal by building something new." "Speaking of building something new," she continued, checking her notes, "I heard through the phone network that Gus Grumworth has officially taken over operations at Blame It on the Ink. Sounds like he's planning to return to authentic entertainment. No more broadcasting technology, no more enhanced performers, just good old-fashioned cartoon fun." "About time," Depsey said, overhearing as he coiled rope from their cork installation. "Gus understands what entertainment is supposed to be about. Joy, not manipulation." Their work was interrupted again by the approach of two more familiar figures. Chuck bounced across the landscape with his characteristic enthusiasm, now carrying what appeared to be a makeshift camera constructed from cartoon parts and dimensional physics. Lucy moved beside him with graceful purpose, her porcelain surface catching the strange light beautifully as she conducted interviews with various residents. "This documentation project is incredible," Chuck said, filming Dr. Moose's patch application technique. People need to know these repair methods. Step 1. Identify dimensional fracture. Step 2. Select appropriately sized reality patch. Step 3. Apply with gentle pressure and secure with interdimensional safety pin. Everyone's story matters, Lucy added, her crown gleaming as she organized her interview notes, not just for historical record, but for protection. Future communities need to know how to spot corruption before it takes hold, and how to heal afterward if it does. Any word on what happened to the broadcasting equipment? Joko asked, his vaudeville instincts naturally curious about the technical side of entertainment. Being systematically dismantled, Chuck reported. Turns out most of it was just regular transmission equipment modified with things that shouldn't have existed in the first place. Remove the cosmic corruption, and you're left with perfectly normal radio technology. Which Gus is using for legitimate local broadcasting, Lucy continued. Community announcements, weather reports, and actual cartoon shows performed for actual entertainment value. The group naturally gravitated toward a central area where someone had managed to construct a decent picnic table from stable set pieces. As they settled in for the kind of shared meal that builds community, the conversation turned to the broader changes rippling through their world. What about the other enhanced performers? Dr. Moose asked, accepting a sandwich that tasted surprisingly normal given their interdimensional location. The ones who survived the system collapse. Adjusting, Pearl reported, consulting her ever-present notes. Felicia Figtree is working the register at the bakery now. Turns out when you remove supernatural enhancement, she's just a perfectly normal cartoon fig tree with a talent for customer service. The surviving executives are doing various customer service jobs throughout the city. Seems like cosmic justice has a sense of irony. Detective Bones nodded approvingly. I like seeing accountability that doesn't require imprisonment. They're contributing to society instead of corrupting it. The important thing, Mr. Muffin said, his voice carrying the weight of hard-earned wisdom, is staying vigilant. The row job isn't dead, just wounded and driven back. Cosmic evil is patient. It will try again, probably somewhere else with someone else's work. The reminder cast a thoughtful shadow over the group, but not a despairing one. These were people who had faced ultimate corruption and found ways to heal from it. They understood the difference between naive optimism and informed hope. That's why we're building this, Joko said, gesturing to the community around them. Not just as a place for survivors, but as a training ground. A place where people can learn to recognize manipulation, resist corruption, and support each other through recovery. And perfect our cork installation techniques, Depsey added, with the kind of practical humor that emerges from trauma processed into purpose. Never know when you'll need to plug a reality tear with cartoon physics. They looked around at their afternoon's work. Dimensional tears sealed with perfect cartoon corks, smaller fractures patched with reality band-aids, cheerful warning signs posted around hazards that couldn't be completely eliminated. The strange zone had transformed from a dumping ground for cosmic horror's victims into something unprecedented, a community that had learned to heal by helping others heal. You know what's funny? Chuck said, adjusting his makeshift camera to capture the golden light filtering through stabilized dimensional patches. We started as entertainment for others. Now we're building something that entertains us, in the truest sense. Something that brings genuine joy instead of manufactured distraction. That's what creators always intended, Lucy said, her porcelain features glowing with confidence earned through sacrifice and resurrection. Joy that comes from connection, not consumption. As the afternoon wound down and their various repair projects reached satisfying completion, the group began cleaning up their tools and preparing for whatever tomorrow's community work would bring. The strange zone had found its rhythm, not the desperate survival of refugees, but the purposeful productivity of residents who had chosen to build something better from the wreckage of something terrible. But as they worked in comfortable companionship, one thought lingered unspoken in the back of everyone's mind. Somewhere in the regular world, people still sat in front of screens, watching cartoons, trusting that the entertainment they consumed was created with love rather than corrupted with hunger. The Rojab was wounded, not destroyed. And cosmic evil was always, always patient. Detective Bones packed the last of his warning signs, Pearl organized her final notes, and the others gathered their various tools and projects. Another successful day of turning cosmic horror aftermath into community resilience. Tomorrow, they would do it again, because that's what healing looked like. Not a single moment of triumph, but a daily choice to build something better than what came before. The corks held firm, the patches remained stable, and the cheerful warning signs stood ready to protect anyone who might wander too close to the remaining hazards. For now, that was enough.